Guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Thank you for joining me. Hope this video finds you all doing well. So it is mid-2020, approaching fast 2021. I thought I would do an updated guide and do it in the form of kind of relaying 20 tips to you guys. Whether you just download the game, looking for some direction, because Raid can toss a lot of information at you. It's kind of information overload when you first get this game. Or if you've been playing for even a few weeks or months, even closer to a year, hopefully one or two of these tips will really resonate with you and change the way that you play the game and help your efficiency and your progression in the game. So let's go ahead and just jump to it here, starting with tip number 1. This applies to the early game, but when you download this game, I would advise you guys go with Kale as a starting champion. He's widely considered to be the best of the 4, and you can pair him with a great team just by farming campaign. In stage 1 of campaign, you have access to a really solid rare champion in Valerie. I think she's one of the most underrated rare champs in the game. She has a great shield ability, and shield is a very valuable support tool in this game. She can basically run support on your team and keep your team alive, which is obviously paramount to success in this game. She also has an increase the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn and decreases the duration of all debuffs by 1 turn. Those are also really good skills to have in your kit. And then as you progress a little bit further in campaign, and by the way, Valerie and War Maiden, the two champions that I want to focus on here to pair with Kale, they both drop as very rare drops. They're rare champions who are rare drops that you can just randomly get while playing in these levels of the campaign. War Maiden is one of the best rare champions in the game. Not only does she have the strongest debuff, decreased defense, on her A3 inside her skills here. It's an AoE attack attacking all enemies and landing decreased defense on all of them, but she also hits very hard. She has the highest damage multiplier on her AoE attack here with the defense down on this Crumbling Blast ability, so she can make kind of a nice nuker to go alongside Kale on your team. Let's go on to tip number 2. Number 2 is try to log in every day. Now, I completed my login rewards. I only have my progression rewards here, but every time that you log in the game, even if you can't play that day, you get a busy day, I understand. I don't play this game every day either, but make sure you just log on for a second and claim your login reward. Now, if you break the streak of logging in, it's okay. Nothing resets. You don't have to start over or anything like that, but you get amazing rewards from just logging in the game, and it all culminates in Sill of the Drakes after 180 days of playing Raid Shadow Legends. Again, it doesn't have to be a login streak, but the quicker you can get these great champions that you just get from playing the game, the better. Tip number 3 is going to be use quests, challenges, and missions as kind of, especially in the early game, this was a mistake I made. As you can see, I have not finished my missions. I have not completed a lot of my challenges and quests because in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. I just went and just played the game, right? And that's fine too, but you can actually use your daily quests and your missions and challenges as kind of a way to give you a roadmap onto, okay, I'm not sure what I should be doing right now in the game. Go ahead and just take a look at your missions. If you can't complete the next mission, make sure you're completing all your quests on a daily and weekly basis. Every single week, you can actually get an ancient shard, which is really valuable, and every month, you can get a sacred shard. So 1 sacred shard and 4 ancient shards just from completing your monthly and your daily quests or weekly quests inside this game. Tip number 4 is playing this game, you get gems. You just get gems even if you're not spending any money on the game. Now, using gems is something that a lot of people make a lot of mistakes on, right? In terms of the efficiency, the bang for your buck on your very valuable gems. One big mistake that I made again in the early game is I bought so much silver. 1,400 gems and 700 gems. Oh my word, and 140 gems for 300,000 silver, 40 gems even for 80k silver, man. It is not worth it. You're going to easily progress to just by playing the game, you're going to progress to a certain point where getting 4 million silver or 300,000 silver is not that difficult, even if you are free to play. So I would not advise you, unless you just absolutely need a few more silver to finish that upgrade, I would advise you not get in the habit and routine at using gems for anything other than energy. Energy is really the best way to use your gems in this game because with energy, you can actually buy the resources with gems to farm way more silver or way more anything that you could otherwise buy with gems. So that's how I would advise you guys spend your hard-earned gems. Energy. Tip number 5 is don't spread yourself too thin. Now, there are a lot of champions in Raid Shadow Legends, guys, just a ton of them. And whenever you pull a new one, it can be exciting. You can want to start maxing them and working on upgrading them immediately. But especially in the early to mid game, you should be focusing on building a solid team of 4. Now, we gave an example of Valerie, Kale, and War Maiden. Let's say you pull an Executioner as well. It would be a great team to use those 4 champions together, but you should focus on those 4 champions and ideally get them all 6-star. That's right, it's difficult to 6-star a champion in this game, but it's dramatically better. We're talking, almost 50% better in overall power when you 6-star a champion than 5-star a champion. So one at a time, starting with Kale. Usually you want to work on 6-starring one champion, ascending them so you can use all of their accessories, their ring, their amulet right here, their ring, their amulet, and their banner. And then after that, you want to work on the next one. Once you have one team of 6-star champions, then you can start working on kind of fine-tuning teams for specific areas of the game. Okay, so that's all fine and well, Ash, but who? Who do I upgrade? How do I tell which champion I should focus on next after I focused on my main team? Well, there's 3 factors I said in a previous video that I consider whenever choosing the next champion to focus on. And let's go ahead and use Apothecary as an example because he is really, really good, especially a guy that you want to keep an eye out for in the early game. If you pull him, don't use him as food. Make sure you build him out because it's going to help you everywhere, even into the late game. And the first factor is end game viability. Is this a champion that I can invest in that will take me to the late game? How do you know that? Well, one easy way is just search it on YouTube. There are thousands, hundreds of champion guides out there for almost every champion, if not every champion of rare, epic, and legendary rarity in the game. See what other people think of these champions. Find a trusted content creator and then go ahead and check out their content and see what their opinion is on these champions, right? Another way is going to a website and looking at the reviews on these champions. At the end of the day, though, you should focus on their end game viability. Are they going to be end game? Because I like to invest in champions that are going to return, dividends for a long time for me, not a champion that I'm only going to be used for another month or 2 until I get another better champion. And that's the second factor, is their value over replacement. What champion are they going to be replacing in a lot of my teams? In the beginning, they won't be replacing anybody. You'll be building them out for the first time. But then after that, how much better are they than the champion that they're going to be replacing? And then the third factor that I consider is just overall versatility on these champions. How many areas of the game can I use them in? Campaign, great. What about campaign and arena? Even better. Campaign, arena, dragon? Even better. A campaign, arena, dragon, clan boss, you guys get the point. So their overall versatility plays a huge factor into whether or not I'm going to focus on them as my next champion upgrade. Tip number 7 is where to farm. Where should you be farming in the early game inside Raid Shadow Legends? Well, it's an easy answer. It's the most difficult level that you can complete generally will give you the best dividends, the best return on your energy. So basically go to the level that you cannot complete, that you cannot beat inside the game. Maybe go 1 or 2 stages before that so you can have, not 5-10 minutes per run, and then you can farm there. So I should say the easiest stage, the easiest level in campaign that you can complete in a decent amount of time, that's where you want to be farming your experience and your silver in the early game. Tip number 8 is what should you be doing in the early game other than just campaign farming? Well, we talked about champions that you want to keep an eye out for already, but other than that, the thing that everybody should focus on, even in the very beginning of the game, is the arena. Arena, the classic arena, is a great place to go ahead and farm, to build an arena team. Spirit Host is another champion who is accessible. Let me see where Spirit Host is. I forget what level in the campaign. I think 3 or 4. Yeah, Spirit Host is pretty solid. She can block all debuffs, on her A3 here, removes all debuffs from all allies, and then blocks debuffs on all allies for 1 turn. The Dark Gift is a great ability for the early game in the arena. You could pair her with a Kayle, a War Maiden, and again, an Executioner, a Valerie, whoever, and then just start farming medals in the arena. It's okay if you lose in the arena. Don't sweat it. You don't care about your ranking. And another tip about the arena, guys, is arena defense. Don't care about it, right? You don't care. There's really not a huge incentive in the arena to have a big arena defensive team all built out. You kind of just want to throw whoever in there, like your worst champion, right? Because the thing is you want to be able to farm arena. So you don't want to gain so many trophies as to where, heck, I'm kind of screwed here because every team that I face is very, very difficult. Instead, allow yourself to farm up and then naturally lose them on defenses. The only time that you would want to put a real, sustainable, strong, robust defensive team in the arena is if you have simply lost way too many trophies and you are really at the bottom of the barrel and you can't viably farm there. So if you're not playing for a few days, for example, maybe throw in a real arena defensive team. Other than that, this is how you arena farm. You want to get as many medals as possible. That way you can upgrade your Great Hall, which we'll talk about in a future tip. Tip number 9 is how to rank up your champions fast. What is the best methods to rank up your champions? So let's say you pull a brand new, who are we excited about here, guys? A brand new Skull Crusher. We want to level him up. You go to your tavern and you can use potions if you want to, but it's far from the most efficient way. And these potions, you can use any color on him. He is a Force champion though, so you'll get an extra bonus XP of 18,750, or as opposed to, a magic potion, which is only 12,500 XP. So always use the correct affinity potion. But really, this screen in the tavern is not where you're going to be leveling up most of your champions. It's rather in the campaign. People talk about campaign farming and campaign farmers. So if we go to campaign, you'll see that I have, well, in that case, I had Aethel. I guess that was fine to keep in there. Let's go ahead and pretend. Let's stick with who's my campaign farmer, guys? Help me out here. Where's Queen Ava? I can't find her. Okay, there we go. So Queen Ava is a legendary champion. Probably don't have her, but you can use Kayle in this spot. You can use Aethel in this spot. We'll use actually Kayle in this spot. And then we go to our brand new champion that we want to level up, and we pair them with food champions, right? So you always want to maximize efficiency. You want to be using 4 champions with a maxed out campaign farmer. So Kayle in this case is my campaign farmer. Skull Crusher is the champion that I want to actually upgrade to use. Or even if I didn't have a Skull Crusher, I could just put food in here. These champions are considered food. These are champions that I'm only leveling up to sacrifice. That way I can rank up another champion in the game. Now, why do you want to use 4? Because think of the collective pool of experience that I'm gaining off of a campaign run here as 100% or 100 total XP, just for, sake of the argument. It's going to be split 4 ways. 25% of the all the experience, goes to all these champions, right? So you can see 4,000 XP, 4,000 XP, 4,000 XP, and 4,000 XP also goes to Kayle in this scenario. So 25% of my overall experience is wasted, but that's what allowed us to get this 6-second time by having a maxed out champion in the lead. So again, you want one campaign farmer to take 25% of the experience, and then the additional 75% of the experience is divided equally among the other champions. If we only ran 3 champions, it would be only 33% experience, and 33% would be wasted. If we only ran 2 champions, 50% of the experience would be wasted on Kayle, who's not using the experience. So keep that in mind, guys. That is how you farm inside the campaign of Raid Shadow Legends. Quick tip number 10 is where is the best place to farm in the game, right? So brutal, we're on normal right now, but if we go to brutal difficulty, stage 3 of level 12, Brimstone Path. So again, Brimstone Path, stage 3 is the best energy, bang for your buck in terms of energy efficiency per silver gained. 12-3, even more than 12-3 on Nightmare difficulty is going to give you the most return for your energy on your silver. So it's the best place to farm silver, second to Spider's Den in the game, which we'll talk about in just a second. Now, the best place to farm experience by a slight margin is actually 12-6 instead of 12-3. I personally would always go 12-3 because I'd rather have the extra silver than a little little bit extra experience. But just so you know, 12.6 is also the best place to farm for experience. Now, I mentioned Spider's Den. We haven't talked about the other dungeons in the game, but Spider's Den by far has the best rewards in terms of silver output, right? From selling accessories. They sell for a lot per energy spent. So as you progress to the mid and the late game, the best way to farm silver is just by farming and selling accessories from Spider's Den. And who knows, heck, you're definitely gonna, the odds are with you, you're gonna get some really good accessories along the way as well. So you'll be spending a lot of time in Spider's Den as you progress through this game because of the silver and the accessories. All right, so you have your champions, you got your farming strategy, you're good to go. Now, where do you focus on in terms of upgrading your artifacts, right? So I would advise everybody gets on a champion you want to use. You put on the artifacts that you want on them. We'll talk about strategy tips for what artifacts are good and what aren't in just a bit here. But the first thing you want to do is upgrade all of your artifacts to level 8 and then try to get them to level 12, okay? After that, it's extremely important that when you're bringing them all the way to max, which is level 16, you focus on the middle row first. I think the middle row is, I know, the middle row is the most valuable in terms of bang for your buck, in terms of silver efficiency to focus on first, okay? So gauntlets, your chest, and your boots are going to be very important to get to level 16 before your weapon, your helmet, and your shield. Tip number 12 is pointing out a few very important masteries that you guys should be aware of. Now, any debuffer, you're going to want to start out with pinpoint accuracy for the most part. Accuracy is so important in this game. So is speed. So especially on your campaign farmer, Whirlwind of Death is a must-have. Increases speed by 6 for each enemy killed by this champion, and it stacks across every single round. So think about it. That's 12 champions they're going to be killing, and you're going to get 6 extra speed up to 18 on your campaign farmer. Whirlwind of Death, very, very valuable. Another one is Blood Shield. If you're having difficulty with your campaign farmer dying at higher difficulty stages as you progress in the game, Blood Shield's going to put a shield on them for 1 turn whenever they kill an enemy, equal to 15% of this champion's max HP. And the last one I want to mention is Bloodthirst in the defense tree. Heals this champion by 10% of their max HP when they kill an enemy. Only occurs once per round. So on an AoE, it will be healing them once per round. So those are some important masteries you want to consider. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Deadly Precision plus 5% crit rate and Keen Strike plus 10% crit damage. Pretty much a mandatory must-have on every single damage dealing champion inside the game. Tip number 13. Am I losing count here? Did I just say 11? We're on 13 because my notes say so. Anyway, guys, talking about other places. You know, we talked a lot about campaign. We talked a little bit about Spider's Den. What about Ice Golem, Dragon's Lair, and Fire Knight? In terms of once you've been able to reach 12-3 and been able to set up a team and start farming, your next goal in the game in terms of gear should be farming Dragon's Lair. Dragon's Lair is a great kind of starter dungeon. It's still difficult when you get to higher stages, certainly, but it's a great place to farm because the gear is really good. Look at all the artifact drops here, especially accuracy, speed, and lifesteal. These 3 sets are just insane, especially speed, which is widely considered to be the best artifact set in the game in terms of overall utility and versatility in the early, the mid, and the end game. So your goal should be eventually, you know, as you progress through the Dragon's Lair here, getting to an area, stage 13, where you can farm this stage and potentially pick up artifacts that are 6 stars. That's how you're going to be getting the majority of your first 6-star artifacts, your good 6-star artifacts in the game from farming Dragon's Lair stage 13. After that, you can start focusing on Ice Golem and Fire Knight. I would advise you guys concentrate on farming these dungeons when there is a special event or tournament specific to these dungeons going on in the game. That way you can get extra bonus rewards while you're working on optimizing your specific dungeon team. Tip number 14 is to build anybody who you want to be doing any damage on your team with 100% crit rate or as close to as humanly possible. A lot of that's going to come from your gauntlets, right? So I saw a few accounts yesterday. I was helping out a couple new players and they had all their damage dealers just built out with very, very high attack in totally ignoring the crit rate and crit damage of these champions. You're going to get way more damage, way better bang for your buck here. And even me, 91% on the crit rate on my Whisper here, I would love to have this at 100%. Now I have endgame gear on her, so ignore these other stats. The main point I want to emphasize here is it's imperative that you have all your damage dealers, unless they have some crazy ability where they're automatically going to land a critical hit or a huge extra chance at landing a critical hit. You really want to be focusing on building them with crit rate as close to 100% as possible. So tip number 15 are some final kind of general rules for artifacts. Now there are exceptions to every rules in the game, but I want to give you guys kind of a template, a blueprint that you can use, and that way you can be guided in the right direction. This will make a huge impact, more so than any of the other tips pretty much in this video, on your account progression if you just gear your champions correctly. And one of those things means that 90% of your champions, if not more, with the exception of maybe endgame arena and kind of speed tuning and clan boss, are going to have speed boots on. Speed boots on all your champions, because a champion, no matter how hard they hit, no matter how much they heal, no matter what type of crowd control they're adding to your team, they're only as good as how fast they're going, and their turn meter is dictated by these champions' speeds. So having increased speed abilities on your team and higher speed via speed boots is going to be very important. Other general rules on anybody that you want to be doing damage on your team, we already talked about the crit rate, crit damage on the gauntlets. Also a general rule is having crit damage on your amulet, okay? Crit damage on your amulet is generally considered to be much better than attack, for example, on your amulet. Now, on support champions, you can go with defense on your amulet. Now, anybody who is doing debuffs, for example, Bellower, who I have selected here, is going to want an accuracy banner. Accuracy banner is absolutely imperative for anybody who is doing any sort of debuff on your team. That means turn meter reduction, that means stuns, sleeps, anything that you're doing other than damage to the opponent is going to be dependent in this game on accuracy. So making sure we take advantage of accuracy banners, which accuracy and chest are the only artifacts that you can get the main stat as accuracy. Or did I say, well, banner and chest are the only two areas where you can get accuracy as the main stat. So prioritizing accuracy on your banner, crit damage on your amulet, speed on your boots, crit rate or crit damage for attackers on your gauntlets are great general rules. The last note here, guys, is on your damage dealers. If they're dying consistently, don't be afraid to go with defensive or HP percentage on their chest in lieu of attack percentage on their chest. That really depends on your team and where you are in the game, but don't be afraid to put on a defensive or an HP percentage chest on your damage dealers if they're dying. Tip number 16 is a simple one, guys. Don't be afraid to focus on faction wars very early on. In faction wars, you guys can get glyphs. Now, once you use a glyph, it is gone, but you should be farming these. Even if it's just stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 of faction crypts, you should be focusing on this because you should be using your glyphs to enhance and upgrade all of the substats on your artifacts. It's a really simple system to understand, but one huge thing to recognize early on is once you use a glyph attached to one artifact, it's gone. So make sure you're saving your very best glyphs for your very best artifacts. What does a very best artifact mean? It basically means artifacts where you get multiple rolls on one stat would be ideal candidates to use a very good glyph on, further enhancing that already kind of god tier artifact. Tip number 17 has to do with the most rare items in this game. Ancient shards, void shards, sacred shards, legendary and epic books, right? And rare books to an extent. These are the most rare items in Raid Shadow Legends. So with your books, make sure when you're upgrading skills on the champion, especially on legendary and epic champions, you really want to invest in this champion, going back to the fundamentals we talked about when deciding which champion we want to upgrade next. And then B, you're never, ever, ever either using a legendary or epic champion, especially in the early game, as food on epics. Even if they're duplicates, save them in your vault. And B, you're never using a legendary book to upgrade a skill of an epic or let alone a rare champion. Never, never, never do that. Same thing with epic books. Don't use them on rare champions, okay, guys? And with the shards too, save them, hoard them for double chance events. So we have one coming up tomorrow in real time here for Sacred Shards. Right now, normally we have a 6% chance of pulling a legendary on a Sacred Shard, a 0.5% chance on a Void and Ancient Shard. In a double times event, which comes about every month or so in this game on one specific type of shard, we'll get a double chance. That's when you want to be using your shards. Think about it, man. Shards are very hard to come by, even for big spenders in this game, so we want to maximize our pull chances on legendary and epic champions when we decide to use them. Tip number 18 has to do with the gem mine in the market. So the gem mine is actually a very good investment to make on your account, provided you plan on playing for at least 3 months. After that, it's all return on your value to maximize your gem mine. On the market is something that I never refresh, and I don't advise people to refresh in the market, but some people do, so I guess it's up to you. However, I do not buy gear or champions from the market. The only exception is I'll buy a mystery shard every single day or an ancient shard every single time it appears. Ancient shards appear 4 times a month inside your market, and it's definitely worth getting, right? So you can get 4 ancient shards from your market for 200,000 silver a pop. Again, that is worth it in my opinion. It's expensive, but it's worth it for an ancient shard. And mystery shards you can get every day. This is actually just a bad luck. Just for the video, I'm gonna refresh, guys, but mystery shards are very, very common. I can't believe that I haven't gotten one in 3 refreshes. Okay, finally, jeez, man. So you get your mystery shard, and then that will give you 5 more arena tokens vis-a-vis this quest here every single day, and a few other rewards. So you can see I collect my 5 arena tokens, and boom, now I have 6 instead of 1 arena token. But yeah, the market, I would advise you guys, be very, very picky about the gear that you buy from the market. However, definitely go for those shards, a mystery once a day. That way you can get your 5 arena tokens from the quest, and of course the ancients as they appear throughout the month for 200,000 silver each. Number 19 is recognizing for clan boss, which again is where you're going to be getting your rare books, some shards as well in the early game. You can get all the way up to Ultra Nightmare and Nightmare, where you can get legendary books and Sacred and Void shards, which are really difficult to come by otherwise. You always want to be kind of in a clan that is working on the same level difficulty clan boss that you are as a player. Clans that have 10 people who are working on Ultra Nightmare and 10 people who are working on easy and normal that just don't jive well together. You're not working well as a team. For clan boss, defense is everything. Have a good defensive lead champion aura if you have one, or go with a speed aura. Apothecary is great because he has a defensive aura as your lead in the early game, and he has that speed ability that he can use on the rest of your team. Poison is also really good, not only in clan boss, but also in Dragon's Lair. So around the same time you're starting to farm Dragon's Lair, you're also going to be working on your clan boss team in this game, and champions like Kale, like Apothecary are great in both of these dungeons because Kale has the poisons, Apothecary has the speed. Now aside from poison and the speed, other important factors or debuffs are going to be having that strong defense down, again a character like War Maiden, or having for clan boss, having a decrease attack is going to be very valuable. So for clan boss, decrease attack, decrease defense, poison, prioritizing defense, and for dragon, same kind of stuff here. The same, basically everything the same, right, for the dragon. So those are factors and abilities that you want to be on the lookout for in champions in the mid game especially. That way you can optimize your dragon and clan boss teams. And finally, tip number 20, guys, is your great hall. We talk about a lot here on the channel. Try to avoid it seems like every new player, myself included, we go after HP and attack in the great hall. I would advise you guys prioritize the affinities that you use the most. So there's 4 affinities: magic, spirit, force, and void. Whatever champions, usually it's magic. Most people start with a lot of magic champions. Again, Apothecary and Kale are magic-based affinities, and a lot of people have those as their main champions in the mid game. So no matter who your champions are, I would prioritize accuracy, crit damage, and defense as my 3 main categories or tiers that I want to be focusing on here in the Great Hall. So try to avoid going for attack and HP, as most new players just naturally tend to do, again myself included, and instead focus on accuracy, crit damage, and defense. They will help you out more, especially as you progress to the late game, but even in the early and mid game, you get more return, more dividends on these 3 categories. So there you have have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been long enough here, so we'll go ahead and save the prolonged outro. If you enjoyed the content here, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.